How's it going, fellow YouTubers and bike riders? So I wanted to make a video. It's been a while since I made some videos. I've been concentrating on work, and I've also been working on my new bike, and I'll show you guys in a later video what I ended up with. And with a new bike comes the dreaded bike fit. I say dreaded because it's okay. So there's options that you can do to get the perfect bike fit. One option, which might not guarantee your perfect bike fit, depending on who you go to, is to actually go and get fitted. So go to an actual bike fitting person, coach, or whatever, and paying them good money to get a really good bike fit. Now, not all bike fitters are made equal. So just because someone is charging a lot of money or has a lot of expensive equipment and you think you're getting a very good bike fit, they might be fitting you in a pro concept. So a pro concept is, this is how we would fit a pro rider. And a pro rider, by the way, is very flexible. They work on their flexibility and flat back, and there's plenty of YouTube videos I've seen where if you guys look at this guy, they would consider this the wrong fit because his back isn't flat. Okay, and all they want to do is try to get you to get as flat as possible, and you might not be able to sustain that positioning. There you go. Look at that. So this is a bit extreme. He's on a TT bike, but I just wanted to show you that some fitters will try to fit you with a relatively flat back, and you might not be able to sustain that. Sustain it in the sense that if it closes, if you have a little bit of a tummy, if you're not, a pro and skinny and all that, and I'm not trying to insult anybody here, but if you are, here we go, here's got some pros. See that back right there? They have no tummy, right? They're skinny little guys, let's be honest, and their back is pretty flat, and it's all for speed, right? But they're able to sustain that positioning. So be careful on, if you go to an actual bike fitter, that they pay attention to what's comfortable, and then they, you can obviously do that. I don't go to a bike fitter. I do it myself, purely because part of me wants to be better at what I do for myself. I also like to experiment, and I also like to, I know what is the right fit once I get into it. So when I go to a new bike, I could measure everything out, but some bikes are fundamentally quite different, and I don't want to necessarily change every little aspect of my bike. So obviously seat post length is going to be the same, right? Rough. Okay, let me take that back. No. The seat posts, they're all about 350 mil seat posts. So providing it's the right size frame, the seat post will go up and down, and you'll adjust that. So that part I do measure out. The way you should be doing, if you're going to do your own bike fit, the way you should be measuring it out, if you've never had one done before, the first thing you do is cleat position. Okay, so cleat position is going to be your shoes, your cleats, and when you do your cleats, make sure that you have the ball of your foot is the power transfer to the center of where the cleat is, so that it goes on your pedal, on the spindle. I've seen people, here's a picture of a foot. So this is I've seen people that have the cleat way too forward over here, and that creates a lot of tension on the back of the heel, your your Achilles tendon, and it also you're not going to get the power transfer out because you're going to have to use a lot of smaller muscles to stabilize that foot and put the power down. So move the cleat backwards a little bit so that it's at the ball of your foot. Some people even go further back. It's better for you to go further back than too forward. So even if you went a little bit further back than this cleat, you would actually be fine. What you will find is that the further back you go, including midsole cleat, which is something you guys can Google and look into, and I've tried it. But if you try to go further back to the furthest back position of the cleat, you will find that your sprint, when you're sprinting, is slower. You won't have that snappy power, but you will probably also find that your long distance, the big muscles, long distance endurance, you might feel a little bit fresher. Not faster, fresher. I don't know if there is a better way for me to explain that. Anyways, ideally, you will have your cleat right around the ball of your foot, not too forward, in the ball of the foot, and that way you start there. So start with the cleat position, then work the seat height. And the seat height, you have to actually work in conjunction with the fore and aft. And the fore and aft is, let's see if we can find a different picture. There we go, we'll use this one. So first you worked on your cleat, then you're working on the seat height, and it's in conjunction with if you're moving the seat backwards or forwards. Some seats, when you move the seat forward, it kind of slams up, so you have to lower your seat and so on. So a general rule is get on the bike, and you want to be able to, let's get a guy like this here. All right. All these degrees vary, by the way. There is no, look at his back. If you look at his back, you might not have an arched back like this. Some fitters might look at this and be like, oh, that's way, that's not good. Others have an arched back naturally, so they don't have a completely straight back. You gotta feel. You really have to go by feel. If you're doing it yourself, you really have to go by feel. Me looking at this, it looks like there's a little bit much of an arch on that particular back. But anyways, I don't want to focus on the wrong side here, the wrong part. So when working the seat height, you can start off as a general position, have the seat height by sitting on the seat and putting the heels on the pedals and pedal with the heels, and you're not supposed to be swinging your hips left and right. Okay, you can start there. There's no science that says this is what you're supposed to be at. Everything is always a starting point, because everybody's built different. What's comfortable to you might not be comfortable to me. I have very long legs and a very short upper body. So when I fit to a frame, my seat post is always very high. My drop is fairly high. My drop means the height from where the seat is to where the handlebars are. I drop about 9 centimeters. I mean, there are some extreme cases out there they drop even more, but mine is about 9.5 centimeters. Some people are, most people are going to be between 5 to 7 mil drop. When I said millimeters, I didn't mean millimeters. I meant centimeters. So most people are between 5 to 7 centimeters drop. I'm about 9.5. But because I have a very short upper body, I'm not stretched out that much. So I have fairly short stems. I generally go Well, it depends on how the frame measures, but I generally go anything from 80 millimeter to 105, 110 mil, depending on how the frame is, what size the frame it is. Um, there's so many videos for you to watch or look at when it comes to bike fitting. I will tell you this: I've gone probably now. I ride about 5 to 6 days a week, and it's taken me probably and I'm not completely done yet, probably 2.5 weeks of adjustment. Now I could have done it a lot quicker than that, but here's the thing. What feels good for 5 minutes is not what feels good after a real strong, you putting down the power ride. So I thought I was good last week when I finally changed some things. And after I made those changes, my hands were numb after 45-minute ride, hour and a half. So they started getting numb. So you shouldn't have to experience those things. Once you're properly bike fitted and things are where they're supposed to, according to your anatomy, your body, your positioning, you should be able to be on the bike for 2-3 hours. I think it starts becoming natural after 2.5 hours to start feeling some ache or pain. Maybe not pain, but some discomfort, because you're sitting on a bike for 2.5 hours plus. I mean, a little stretching and stuff in between works wonders. Get out of the saddle. Don't just sit stagnant. Move your hands around a little bit. At the end of the day, we're not sitting on a couch or sleeping. We're on a bike. So you should be able to sit. A trainer is a great way, actually, to bike fit. I could have done that, but I like to be in the real world, and I like to ride and feel the wind and see how it reacts when I go. For example, when I let go of my handlebars, I like to see how that feels as I'm fitting the bike. So I like to have. I like to be a little bit forward, my knee, right below the knee. If you measure right there, as you are with her right there, so on the back foot, not the front foot, the back foot. So she's at the 3 o'clock mark there. I like to do one of those plum drops or whatever. There's a line that goes right below your knee. They go straight down, right? And you can put a little weight on a piece of string and kind of gauge it yourself. They say, the big bike fitters, that you should be on a straight line, so it goes through the spindle. That line should go through the spindle of your pedal, so that your power is right above. I tend to agree to the point where I tend to be a couple of millimeters, not centimeters, millimeters ahead. I find I can put in a little bit more power, and because my upper body is short, I can do that without having to feel like I'm completely over the front wheel. I'm not very stretched out on my bike. Everybody likes to get you like this, but how reasonable is it for someone to be able to pedal full power and be able to breathe with that kind of positioning? Let me see here. If I can find. So, I mean, this is a pretty upright position, but that looks like a pretty comfortable position. So if you look at there's a lot of wind resistance there because she has fairly upright position, but her back is really nice and straight. She has a nice, good straight back. Mine is rolled. Mine rolls up here, but it looks pretty good. You need to experiment. If you're going to do it yourself, don't get frustrated. Don't think that you're going to, kind of nail it in the first try. And There's lots of videos for you to watch, lots of advice, some good, some less good. Um, don't take anyone's advice as gospel, because you got to listen to your own body. Some of the best ones that I've heard are the ones that really listen to you and don't try to make you the pro rider. And here's the thing with bike fitting. If you're getting into cycling and you're going to do it yourself, there's lots of videos, lots of things that you can look at. You will get the fit to where it's comfortable right now, not where you want to be. Because if you try to go where you want to be, which is generally speaking, let's look at this picture here. Where you want to be, generally speaking, is further out and down so that you have a flatter back, if you want to have more speed, by the way. Flatter back and less air resistance, because you're going to be lowering your head as well. So the entire upper body is low and out, right? Which is very stretched out, puts a lot of strain on your flexibility if you lack some. Lower back flexibility, hamstring flexibility. If you have a little bit of a tummy, it's very tough, because what happens is the lower you go here, the less room you'll have when your legs go up as you cycle up and down. And this guy is skinny. Look at that. He'll be able to be nice and flat. So if you're a little bit heavier than a pro rider, it's better. See, that looks almost a little painful there. She's got an almost arched back. But I don't know, who knows? I mean, they're in the process of taking a picture to get a bike fit. I think this is a fairly unrealistic position to have when you're hammering it down. Chances are it's going to be a little bit more like that. You're going to be a little bit rolled. Just know, you can't. See, if you have a little bit of a tummy, that's a really small picture. Then you got to give yourself some room, because what happens is if you try to go too low and you have a little bit of a tummy, as your legs go up, they can't go up straight. So they're going to start bowing out. Your knees are going to start bowing out to make room for yourself. And now you have other sets of problems, because you're not pedaling with straight knees, as in up and down. They start bowing out. And you don't want to do that. You really don't. Here we go. That's that perfect example. So if you're like this guy here, you're going to have a lot more of an upright position to make room so that you can bike and still breathe, tummy breathe. You're not going to breathe with your lungs. I mean, we use our lungs, but we want to deep breath with our tummies to get the oxygen in there. So you're gonna have to, up the stem a little bit, shorter stem, up the stem, so you get more upright, and you're gonna have to start there. You gotta be fitted to where you are now, not where you want to be. Some fitters have the ideology that once they lock you into a particular position, that's it, you're locked in. That is so untrue. Fitness is not a straight line. Fitness goes up and down depending on how you ride. If you ride a lot, that's the best bike fit I've ever seen in my life. But fitness, as fitness goes up, this should be the first exercise for a bike fit. One of the first ones. If someone starts checking and seeing where your power is and how flexible you are, that's a good indication. If you're going to go with someone to pay money, that's a good indication. There's lots of information out there. I would venture to try, because anything you get fitted to. So if you're fairly new into cycling, so let me explain this for a second. If you're fairly new to cycling, and you're thinking, well, I'll get fitted by a bike, fitter, and you might spend $200, $300, depending on $500, depending on what it costs to do that, right? Maybe it's $50. I don't know. Whatever that cost might be, you might be spending some money, and you get fitted. 6 months from now, if you now ride a lot between now and 6 months, chances are you need to relook at your fit again. So think about that, that as your fitness goes up, and it goes up a lot in the beginning, if unless you've been biking for a long time, if you're biking for a long time, then you kind of level out your fitness a little bit, and unless you do something special or whatnot, then you're going to be roughly around the same kind of fitness. But see, I can't hold that position myself. That is too flat for me. She's obviously flexible. If that's her positioning, she's obviously flexible, and she can hold that position. But for me, that's too flat. I don't feel comfortable. I'm not very flexible. I need to work on my flexibility. But you don't work on your flexibility to try to, you don't get this fit here and then work on your flexibility, because you're just going to be tight and you're not going to be able to put down the power. You got to be fitted to where you are now. I guess that's the best advice. I've said it several times in this video. And then you're going to recheck your fit in 6 months maybe. And then 6 months after that, you might have to recheck your fit. So that is actually one of the reasons I don't go to a bike fitter per se. I don't have the money, because every 6 months, not necessarily every 6 months, but in the beginning, it is going to be the every 6 months. Now, once you've gotten to what we call the plateau of your fitness, so unless you are drastically changing your cycling habits, and you've been biking for over a year and a half. Let's say that you do 100 miles a week, and you've done 100 miles a week for the last year and a half, and you're not going to change your habits, and you've plateaued, right? You are at a certain strength level. You know that you can put down, let's say, 225 watts or 200 watts or whatever that is. You've kind of plateaued, and that's where you're at. Then at that point, you would do a bike fit. If you do a professional bike fit at that point, then it's going to last a lot longer, providing you don't get super fit or super flexible, or you lose flexibility, or something happens. One fall on the bike can change your positioning, because if you fall and you hurt yourself to where your elbow is hurting or whatnot, now you got to accommodate for that. So you might have to shorten the stem, up the stem, to alleviate some of the pressures of a shoulder or elbow or whatever. And after that, you might not be able to go back down until you work on that flexibility again on your shoulder to be able to do that. There are so many factors when it comes to bike fit. So I tend to spend 2.5 weeks. This time it's actually a little bit longer than what I normally do, because I've been a little bit more careful. Normally I actually do more drastic moves. I change things up and quite a lot, and then go back and so on. But this time I've been very careful on just changing it like 3 millimeters at a time or 5 mils at a time. And then it's like, okay, that wasn't enough. Now I got to go up it again and then again and then again and again. And I'm finally getting to the point where it's like, ooh, I went today out on a pretty hard, strong ride, and I was able to put down the power, and I felt very comfortable throughout. My hands weren't numb a single time, and I was very comfortable. So, moral of the story is, really try to educate yourself when it comes to bike fit. It is the most important part of riding. You can have the most expensive bike, the lightest of the bikes, but if you're not on it correctly, you're not going to be able to put down the power. And all those gram shaving measures or the deep arrow wheels or whatever, they're not going to make you faster because you're not comfortable. You're getting numbness in your nether regions, you're getting numbness in your hands, your elbows are hurting, your neck is strained. A neck strain is extremely common. The more arrow you get, the more you have to tilt your head up to be able to see the road. I mean, we're working forces here that are just not meant to be. Look at that. Look at that kink on that neck. For for this person to see the road, he's got to, you know, the neck sprain is neck pain is extremely common, and I don't think you'll ever go away from that. It's muscles that you'll build up, unless you get just really comfortable and you don't care about speed. And in that case, what happens is that if you get really comfortable and don't care about speed, your stem goes back and it goes up, and as it goes back and up, you're more upright and you have less neck sprain or neck pain, because you're not really arching forward, even more than this guy. So let's look at this. Even more than that. We had some pictures before. You guys know what I'm talking about. And the more, if you want more, there we go. That's a little bit more. Well, he's still a little bit. But you know, the more upright you are, the less strain you're going to put on your neck. Just the way it is. In that case, what you really want is really focus on the seat height and the fore and aft, whether you should move the seat forward or backwards, so that you can put the most amount of power out. And then, you know, if it's you don't really care about aerodynamics in that sense. Anyways, this again, you know, all my videos tend to go long, and I apologize, but I think it's important. Hopefully you found some value in this. If you go and pay someone to do a professional bike fit, and you're fairly new into cycling, see what they have, as in, hey, we'll refit you, or we'll recheck after 6 months, if they have anything like that included in the whole process, so that gives you an opportunity to say, okay, I paid one price, but it's good. I can go back within 6 months and recheck it. Also, if you go for a bike fit and you should see if they have a money-back guarantee, and this is one of those things where bike fitters get really nervous, because they feel they've done the work. But if you walk out of there and you ride your bike and your hands are still getting numb, and or your shoulders are hurting, you know, because they try to put you they try to put you like that. No, but they try to put you in such a flat aero position that, again, they try to fit you for a pro, then it's not a fit for you. It's a fit for a pro. So if they try to do that and they don't offer anything like money back guarantee, it's you've thrown the money away. Chances are you'll never get comfortable enough with their so-called professional fit. And you're kidding yourself if you walk out of there and you ride your bike and you're like, dude, I'm just not comfortable, but this is the way I'm supposed to fit. I got professionally fit. I've spoken to people that have told me I got professionally fit, and I look at them and their hands are getting numb because they're flicking their hands every 20 minutes, and I can see how they're just like excruciating. When I see it, it's excruciating because I see what they're doing to their bodies. If it looks to me from an outsider, and I've been riding bikes for a long time, I look at a person on a bike and I see them just, it seems excruciatingly painful to me to be contortion to something that they're as a body type and whatnot. It just doesn't match. So if they're trying to get this done to you and you are not at this level, then it's the worst bike fit you could possibly get. And they could say it's a professional bike fit. Well, professional in what sense? Professional as in I am a pro because I'm not, or professional as in, yeah, you charged me for a bike fit. So just be careful of what they're trying to fit you like, and do ask, if your bike fit is rubbish, will I get my money back? Or will you continue working with me? There you go. Will you continue working with me until the fit is right? And you be that guy. Don't spend $300 and get a rubbish bike fit that it's not going to do anything for you. Be the guy that says, if the bike fit isn't right, if I trust you to position me on a bike and it isn't right, will you continue to work with me unlimitedly, so unlimited, till it is right? And the judge of till it is right is when you are comfortable on the bike. And comfortable means Not that you're going to be a superhero and gain 50 watts or gain 2 miles an hour, as an average, or however you measure that. Comfortable means that you're not going to have numbness in your hands. That's number one. That is actually, you can work a bike fit towards getting rid of the numbness in the hands. I did. Within 3 rides, I did 3 adjustments, 3 rides, 4 rides myself without having a professional bike fit. And numbness in the nether regions, they will look at your saddle, they will look at the saddle positioning. Knee pain, you shouldn't have knee pain. You shouldn't have, unless you have a medical condition, you shouldn't have knee pain. You shouldn't have lower back pain. You shouldn't have upper back pain. You shouldn't have shoulder pain, elbow pain, or hand numbness or pain. Will you strain the neck? Yeah, there are certain strains on your neck, but not necessarily pain. It's just that we have to build up the neck muscles to be able to hold our head up and try to move around and try to stretch a little bit on the bike. Some things are going to be a little bit uncomfortable. The neck is one of those. Yeah, you should really look at what they're providing, what their guarantee is. Because if their guarantee is this is a pro bike fit, as in we'll get you fitted to look like a pro. Well, I'm sorry, but when I look like a pro on my bike, I ride like shit because I can't put the power down. It's not enough room. I'm stretched out on the top to the point where I mean it just doesn't work. So I have to be fitted to my level of fitness and my body the way it is. So if you have a little bit of a tummy, you gotta have that in consideration. Thank you so much for watching. I'll show you some of the stuff that I've done with my new bike once it's completely dialed in. I don't like to show you in the process because I change stems and I change handlebars and I change things around till I get to the point where it fits like a beautiful glove. Literally, it's so beautiful. But thanks again for watching, and hopefully you'll take something from this.